The sky was dim as heavy clouds gathered, blanketing the entire horizon. The rain poured relentlessly, spraying forcefully onto the deep red earth. Cold winds swept across the fields, making the rows of trees sway with the breath of the storm. In the midst of the desolate field, Linda hunched over, picking vegetables. Her small hands moved swiftly, plucking fresh greens and neatly placing them into the heavy bundle on her back. The pouring rain drenched her faded cloth jacket, but she did not stop. Her footsteps remained steady, sinking deeper into the muddy earth. After finishing gathering the vegetables, she hoisted the basket onto her shoulders and walked along the slippery path. The market was bustling, filled with the lively sounds of bargaining. Amidst the hurried crowd, Linda quietly arranged her vegetables on the stall, carefully placing each fresh bundle. She greeted customers with a soft voice, patiently inviting them to buy. At last, the vegetables were sold out. She opened her pouch, counted the small amount of money in her hands, then left the market. Before heading home, she slipped into the forest, gathering a few more bundles of dry wood. In her world, everything was precious, even the smallest branches could not be wasted. The humble house emerged through the misty rain. Inside, time seemed to stand still, enveloping everything in silence. UGK, her father, sat by the old table, his empty gaze fixed on the rain-soaked yard. He had visibly aged, his thinning silver hair, frail figure, and a face etched with deep contemplation. Linda set down her basket and glanced around the house. Pao wasn't there. She didn't need to ask. She already knew. He had gone drinking again. Linda sighed but said nothing. She quickly started the fire and began preparing the meal. As the father and daughter ate in silence, unsteady footsteps echoed from outside the door. Then, the door swung open. Pao had returned. He staggered inside, his breath heavy with the stench of alcohol. His legs wobbled as he clung to the wall for support, but he still collapsed onto the floor. Linda gasped and hurried over to help him up. This wasn't the first time. She helped him onto the bed, pulling the blanket over him. Looking at Pao's exhausted face and empty eyes, Linda felt a deep ache in her heart. But what else could she do? Pao woke up, still intoxicated, his hazy eyes searching for something. Then he stopped. He had found the money. The small amount Linda had saved for so long, hoping to gather enough to treat their father's legs. Without hesitation, he stuffed it into his pocket and headed out. Linda turned back just in time to see him, a bottle of liquor in hand, staggering away. She ran after him, desperately trying to stop him. She stood in front of him, her eyes red with sorrow. But Pao pushed her aside, and Linda fell to the ground. He walked away without looking back. The sunrise slowly emerged, its faint rays slipping through the thin mist, stretching across the worn-out rooftops. A new day had begun. In the small kitchen, Linda hunched over, cooking feed for the pigs. The fire crackled in the stove, its gentle smoke blending into the peaceful morning air. Every day, her routine remained the same: preparing feed, tending to the chickens, cleaning the livestock pens. No matter how hard life was, she persisted, following the rhythm of her familiar days. But Linda didn't know that another storm was drawing near. Under the scorching midday sun, Pow suddenly stepped into the yard. He no longer looked weak. He stood there, facing Linda, his gaze colder than ever. This house, though worn and crumbling, was the only place she had. The place where she grew up. The place she had fought to stay. But Pow didn't give her a chance to resist. He shoved her toward the door, so hard that Linda fell to the ground. The beginning of a tragic story. Linda, a small yet strong girl, carrying the weight of her family. Pow, an alcoholic, weak, and desperate older brother. UGK, a father powerless against the tragedy unfolding in his family. The story begins under a cloud of darkness. Will Linda be able to change her fate? Or will her life forever be swallowed by the storm? What will happen next? Stay tuned.